Welcome to another episode of the Barbell Voodoo Podcast. This is a joint podcast with both Barbell Voodoo and Beautiful Strength. If you guys remember back, Annette McNamara was on the podcast talking about her Beautiful Strength campaign, and so she's launching this nonprofit, and she's going to go around the country/world. You're international once you cross over into Canada, and I believe you can do that.
I think I can do that.
Or I guess south of the border. So. But she is here. We are doing a podcast together here in Cookeville, Tennessee, at this little gym called Mayhem.
It's very small. Very small.
Yeah, pretty incredible place. But before you jump to any conclusions about Rich Froning, and I mean, you've heard every story from him and stuff. We're not talking to Rich Froning. Okay, he might intro this podcast, but he is not the one we're interviewing today. We're actually interviewing somebody that's got a better story, a fantastic. Life than he does. But we're here joined today with Michael Mills. You say hi.
Good morning, good afternoon, salutations, handshakes, and hand grenades.
You never know. Yeah, You never know when they could be throwing hand grenades right now while they listen to this. Yeah.
We've been introing this podcast for like the last hour, so it might be like dark outside by now.
Are you trying to say my podcast intro is long? I had to cover all the bases.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So the cool thing is just, this is not necessarily a, video podcast generally, but we are in the place where another podcast is made. So this is kind of a triple podcast, if you want to think of it. There's going to be a Beautiful Strength podcast, there's going to be a Barbell Voodoo podcast, but we're also in the place of Froning and Friends podcast.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's basically a triple threat.
I'm absorbing all that extra energy and I don't know. I feel like I can get back into CrossFit now.
The mayhemness.
Yeah.
Do you have the mayhem mindset right now?
I do. Just want to go out and do some ring rows or some things that I can't do.
I have to now pay a couple $1,000s for just saying that word now. I probably shouldn't have said it. I can edit it out. It's fine.
Okay.
All right. So Michael, how we came to be connected was we were competing both at Battle of the Barbells.
Correct.
This last summer. At Vanderbilt University, and you were there, and funny enough, Annette came up and was like, "Hey, who is that guy?" And I was like,
I have to admit, I kind of stalked you. I was only there the first day. I didn't.
This is super creepy. Please go ahead and tell us.
No, No, but I saw you from a distance. I brought my camera that day. Snuck in the back. Don't tell anybody that. But brought my camera and
But you had my pass. So
I did. I had a pass. That's true. I just came in the back door and I didn't know that. But from a distance, I saw you doing jump rope stuff.
The split ropes.
And I was just like, oh my God, that guy looks awesome. But I also, doing the project that I do, it's kind of weird because I can see a lot of things that are different from people from just seeing them.
Sure.
And I didn't want to weird you out, and I didn't want to offend you, and I didn't want to be like, yo dude, you look kind of awesome, I'm going to take a picture, because that's kind of creepy. So anyway, I took your picture from a distance when you were doing that with your ropes, and then I went somewhere else and came back and you were talking to somebody, and then I went somewhere else again and you were gone. And so that night I got home and I was not planning on going back
That's
Sunday.
when I got the text message.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's really cool. Well, you had a name tag on? So I zoomed in on the name tag.
No, I didn't know that.
And it said your name. So then I looked your name up on Instagram, and that's how I found you, and that's how I sent you a message. So, but if I wouldn't have done that, this would not have happened, and I wouldn't have known how awesome you are. So
thank you.
So, and then before we move forward, remind us about Beautiful Strength.
Well, Beautiful Strength is a photo project where I take pictures of all different kinds of people, all different walks of people, all different lifestyles, people who are really resilient and who I just really feel are total badasses. And you definitely had that essence. Badassery-ness. But I photographed over about 200 people. They just had a year, September 16th, so 2 days ago or 3 days ago, or whatever. But yeah, and then I just bought a school bus that I'm converting to take around the United States next year. So you will get to be the very first person, well, technically the third person, to ride in the school bus, but first person.
In a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair.
Wow. Oh.
It's all new.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All right, so as our tradition goes in this podcast, we do we like to hear people's stories. For me, it's where we find inspiration, where we find hope in moving forward, because we're all on this journey, and our journeys are different, and how we journey is different, and how we've gotten to this journey is different. And so I always find hope and strength in other people's stories, and so I would love to hear yours and share that with our listening audience.
Well, I guess like I said, I left the camera back real quick. I'm actually paralyzed.
What? I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm embarrassed to you a while ago. You said made a comment about something, and I said, I would like to stand in the photo, and you're just kind of.
Well, I think I was the one who said,
I think your
people
face got
chose
white
whether or not
really
they stand or sit. And you're like, I would like to stand. I was like,
It was too easy. It was one of those things that I was like, I'm gonna play this league up as much as I can with you. But no, all jokes aside, I was been paralyzed since I was 16 years old. Made the second in '93. It's been 26 years now. I was hit head on by a drunk driver, and I was probably about 3 miles from home when I got hit. And without going into all the detail of what the crash, I guess basically, I just got off of work, hung out with my best friend for about an hour or so. He tried to get me to spend the night, get up next morning, go to Memphis, Tennessee, and go skate. And actually, backtrack a little bit. Before I got paralyzed, I was actually an avid skater. I was a skateboarder. I was your skater dude. I had the little flippy hair thing. I had all that. The big baggy pants back in the '90s, and the big XX large T-shirts when I was like a toothpick.
some Jacobs.
Yeah. That was back in the day. That's what we were. But that was a style back then. Now it's all the skinny jeans and stuff like that. But back then it was the baggier the better. And as I got off work, I was flipping burgers at Sonic. That's what I did. My dad raised me to have a job. So no matter what I did growing up in school, I had a job. I had my first job when I was 13 years old. So I had that responsibility as a teenager of work. Excuse me. But I just got off work, like I said, went to my friend's house, hung out with him for a little bit, and then was off on my way home. And around 12:02 a.m., I was coming around the curve, and I was about 3 miles away from home. And he hit me head on. They said from the car wreck and the scene of the accident that I saw him. I don't remember anything from that time I woke up from my coma back. I don't remember any of my childhood. I don't remember growing up. I don't remember my mom and dad. Like real stories of my own personal stories, I don't remember.
How long were you in the coma?
2 weeks.
Wow.
They told my parents if I survived my surgeries, I'd be in a coma for the rest of my life. I probably would never wake up. I had my aorta, this main artery that goes to your heart, was severed. So usually within about 10 to 13, 14 seconds, that's it, you're done. And I was alive for 6 hours before they realized what was wrong.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a piece of fat, oddly enough, a piece of fatty tissue that was around the aorta that was severed, which medically it's not supposed to be there, they said. It's just they've never seen a case to where a piece of fatty tissue was around the exact same spot that it was severed. So
what?
Yeah. So I always, people ask me, is anybody, with you when you had your car wreck? I said, no, he got out and watched that. Who's he? I said, Goodmore got out and watched that wreck. He was there to make sure I was all right. But yeah, it was one of those things to where they told my parents, I guess speed up a little bit. They told my parents after the crash and all the damage and everything was done, that they had to send me to the local hospital where I'm from in Mississippi. They couldn't do anything. I was too far damaged for them to fix me there. So they had to airlift me from my hometown hospital to an hour and a half away. I got there, that hospital, 7.5 hours after the crash, like 7:30 in the morning. We can't fix him here either. So we got to air him again back to the major hospital in Mississippi. So they got 3/4 of the way there, and the weather had gotten bad by this time, about 9:30 in the morning, and realized that they couldn't get high enough in the helicopter to get away from the weather, so they dropped down in the middle of the highway. The helicopter met an ambulance on the middle of the highway.
What?
Bust me from the helicopter.
You're out this whole time.
I'm gone. I'm already out of it. They've got me so sedated, I don't know all this. And so they're keeping me, blood putting in me, I'm pushing blood out the entire time. By the time I leave the hospital, the second hospital, they know what's wrong, they just can't fix me. So like I said, they stop in the middle of the highway, touchdown in the middle of the highway, and going towards Tupelo, Mississippi, where I'm in the area where they were sending me to, and bus me there. This time my parents are having to go back and forth on a drive back 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
So they get there, they have me prepped for surgery, they go in and start the surgery. I had a compound fracture in my left femur. That was the least of their concern. The most concern was the heart. Shoulder was broke, my face was severely damaged, I had a bunch of broken bones in my face. And like their main concern was just to fix my heart. If they could fix that, if I survived that surgery, they would worry about that stuff later. 13.5 hours later, I'm out of all my surgeries. Then it was like only time would tell. They told my parents, because of the surgeries, and they obviously knew that I had a spinal injury because of the car wreck. They didn't know how severe it was.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know that I was going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life until they actually finished my open heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So when they went in to cut me open to get to my heart, my aorta exploded. And they had just enough time to clamp it to do that. But when that exploded, it finished my spinal cord. I lost it. They call it kind of like a stroke to your spinal cord. You lose all the blood flow and air supply to your spinal cord, which is like a stroke. So my spinal cord is still intact. I just don't have my motor nerves. I have some of my motor, but almost all of my sensory nerves. So I feel my legs. I feel like they're asleep 24/7. That tingly kind of.
Really?
Yeah. So they like if I move my foot like now, it's like that tingle. But I've gotten used to it over 26 years.
Sure.
So if I bump it, that's that feeling again. You bump that foot, it runs up and down your back. That's what it feels like all the time.
No kidding.
So it's I've gotten used to it over the years, so it's normal for me.
Yeah.
But let's go sleep, and that's what mine feels like. So it's kind of it's a unique, weird, because not every spinal cord is the same. It's kind of like a fingerprint. Nobody that has a spinal injury is exactly the same. They're all different in levels. They're different in their abilities. They're different in their sensories. I guess you could say. Like, where I have about 85 to 90% feeling, a lot of the guys and girls don't have that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm considered cursed to a lot of the paralyzed community because I have feeling but no use. I look at it as a plus because I have feeling. I can tell if I hurt myself. I can tell if the water's too hot, if I get in the bathtub, or other things in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have those things where I have friends that just don't, and I can't imagine what that would feel like. But after the car crash, the surgeries, they're like, you know what, he's going to make it. We just don't know how long it's going to be before he wakes out of his coma. They said, it'd be maybe 6 months to a year if I woke up.
So is this a medical-induced coma?
No.
Okay.
From the car crash, it was a head injury.
Yeah. Okay.
And so sometimes I don't realize I do it, but sometimes I catch myself going back, and I don't know if it's nervousness or if it's just my memory catching a thought that I thought I had to say it in the sack. So that happens sometimes.
Gotcha.
So I apologize.
No, you're fine. Mine works that way anyway.
Okay. I don't feel so bad. But I wake up from my coma, and the first thing that I can remember is 93 was Beavis and Butthead. My parents had MTV on in the ICU room. That was just because they knew that's what I watched. They wanted to have the doctors like, hey, have something on. If he does come to, or if there's some kind of sound can get into his mind, that's what he'll remember.
Yeah.
Well, when I woke up, the first thing I remember seeing is, me crawling. That was the first thing I remember.
TV format.
Yeah, so it's a joke around the house that my brother will do that, walk around the house doing that, and it's just, you remember this? And he'll do that.
Yeah, we just put out a shirt that recently of Beavis and Butthead.
No.
Barbell Voodoo, yeah.
I
I wish I knew that story ahead of time.
But, so I wake up from my coma, and that's what I remember. That's my very first thought, is Beavis and Butthead. And
Did you wake up going,
No, I woke up and I was, obviously I was in all kind of straps and stuff, and the first thing I remember doing after seeing a bright light and seeing the actual cartoon is pull the tube out of my foot.
you probably
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and so I have 2 scars on my left side where my open heart surgery was, where I had ports for life support. So I was pulling out the trach, and I was pulling out what kept me alive.
Oh, no.
And so as I started pulling out, I started just because I don't know what's going on. I'm waking up and in a place that I didn't know where I was. So I had no clue that I was never going to walk again when this is happening. I just wake up and I'm in a panic. And the nurse comes in, and as she's coming in, I just cold cock her. Just knock her completely out.
Oh no.
Clear, she comes over and I swing. That's someone coming in, I have no clue what was going on. So she falls to the ground out cold. They rush my dad and say, your son's awake, we need you now. And he's flailing, we can't even with him. My dad was paramilitary. So he comes in, soldier, cease and desist. Sir, yes sir. And that was it. And I wake up and that's kind of how my life started over again.
Goodness.
And
Wow.
so kind of, yeah, but after that, it was kind of one of those things that was, oh my God, what just happened?
Right.
You know, after all the panic stricken, the flailing, the grabbing the cords, pulling things out, then reality would hit me. And it was, why can't I feel my legs? What's going on? Why can't I use them? What is it? Where am I at? And I was in ICU for 2.5 weeks. I woke up from a coma 2 weeks after my wreck. Spent 4 more days in ICU, got out of ICU, was into a regular room. And I think my biggest reality was when I was sitting in the laying in the room. It was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my mom was on the little couch bed asleep. My dad was in the recliner, and I was kind of whimpering, you know, kind of just like, oh, what was me kind of type thing. And Dad's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. He's like, yeah. And it was exactly the way he said it. It was like, yeah. What do you mean, yeah? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, you don't remember 2 weeks before you had your car wreck, you and I got into a big knockout, drag out fight. I hauled off and popped my dad. I thought I was going to be grown. I'm 16 years old, I know what I'm doing. No, I didn't know what I was doing. Dad and I got into a big argument, and I hauled off and popped him. My dad said, if you think you're a bigger man, let's do it again. When I went to swing the second time, he swung. I'm going to my room, Dad. So after I got popped and holding my jaw on my nose, and I went to my room.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, we kind of went outside and we were talking, and he wanted to know what was wrong. Why was I acting the way I was acting? And I told him, I said, I want to be different than anybody else. I don't want to be the cookie cutter teenager that I have at my school. I don't want to be the jock. I don't want to be the football player. I don't want to be the band student. I don't want to be the geek. I don't want to be the nerd. I just want to be different. Mm-hmm. He told me, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later, I'm laying in a hospital bed trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life now that I'm paralyzed.
See, this is not what I was talking about.
No, exactly. So,
Slightly different.
yeah, so I'm laying there and Dad's like, you asked for this. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Man, your dad seems like a super blunt, like.
Yeah, believe me, my kids know I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But he said, you asked for this. I said, no, I didn't. I didn't ask to be a cripple. I said, you did. You just asked for it to be this standpoint. You asked to be different than anybody else. Who else do you know that's paralyzed now? No clue. There you go. But that was just the way that my dad, growing up, was the mentality, you know, the old, when your parents spanked you, this is going to hurt me more, it's going to hurt you. No, it's not my dad. My dad's like, this is going to hurt you. I'm going to feel fine when I get done. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to get the beating. He's not getting the beating. I'm getting the beating. But that was just the way Dad was and still is to this day. But it was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow right off the bat, thinking that this is something that I asked for. Mm-hmm. And I did ask to be different. I didn't ask to be this different. But it was one of those things to where when Dad's like, this is something you asked for, you know, when you ask for things like this from above, you can't be, sometimes it's not specific. It's going to go however they want it, he wants it to go. And whatever that is, whatever you get to play with. You know, so it's the card that you're dealt with. It is what it is. And so I kind of accepted it right off the bat. But Dad told me, laying in a hospital bed, and we're sitting there, and it's like I said, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Just me and him was awake, and we're talking. And he told me this, and I've lived my life this way ever since. And I don't think I've ever told either one of you this at all. It would be a good shirt. My dad told me, he said, life's like a shit sandwich. The more bread you have, the less shit you gotta eat. Think about it.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
And it's, as gross as it sounds, the more bread you have, the less crap you gotta deal with. And I have lived my life like that from June of '93 every day since. I've had bad days, I just put bread on top of it. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that I learned real quick. That if I could make a choice to wake up to be in a good mood, no matter what my day would go through the rest of the day, I still have a choice to make that a good day.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like your crap sandwich. That was just kind of the way that my dad looked at it for me to look at, to live by. And it's worked. And there are days I have good days, there are days I have bad days, but just those days I have bad days, I got a lot of bread.
Yeah.
I got carbs.
When people underestimate, kind of mindset things, like, you could have a good day if you decide to have a good day. We have this conversation with my girls every morning when we wake up, and they can go, this is going to be a bad day, and you're like, yeah, it probably will be, because you decided it's going to be already.
Well, you wake up, I mean, when, number one, you just want to battle, you woke up. Some people wake up dead. I always tell people that come in my office a lot, what I do professionally, in my career is like they come in, they're pissed and vinegar, and they're mad, and I was like, you woke up this morning, you're already winning a battle. I said, somebody woke up this morning dead. Look at me like, how did they wake up dead? Exactly. So I mean, you think about it, some people did not wake up this morning, so you've already started winning that war of whatever you're going through that day. You woke up, you're breathing, you're moving, you've already won your day. Now it's just for you to capitalize on that win. And I've tried to do everything that I do with that mindset, with that movement, with that thought process, with that encouragement, even for myself, because there's days I wake up, I just don't want to do this today. But I woke up, so I was given a gift to wake up, and so I might as well go ahead and use that rest of that day as a gift.
Yeah. So this directly correlates. So I was thinking about this week, actually. You're talking about your mindset, and I was lifting yesterday. I had a couple hours in the gym between classes, and I was lifting, and there was at one point I was addressing the bar, and I automatically was already starting to get in the mindset of like, this is too heavy. It's not to my max, but I already told myself subconsciously that it was too heavy. And I think that happens a lot of times in life in every aspect, whether it's lifting, CrossFit, or whatever. Like how you approach things, how you come into that scenario will drastically affect the outcome in terms of how you get to it.
Yeah, and it affects people around you too.
Walking through mud.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. It's like with me with having a family, a wife and 3 kids. I mean, I make, if I wake up piss and vinegar, how's everybody else going to act around me? They're going to walk on eggshells. They're going to be afraid to say something. Dad's mad again. And then Dad's having a why me day. They don't want to fool with me. They don't want to have anything to do with me on that days.
So do you have those days?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
They're few and far between. Usually it's there's very few things that I cannot do. I usually find a way to adapt to make things work. But there's some things in my life that I have to accept, being paralyzed, that I just cannot do. Those are the things that really hurt me.
Like what hurt you how? Like,
inside. Knowing that because of what happened to me, that somebody has to suffer because of that. Teaching my daughter how to ride a bicycle. It's hard for me to hold her. I can't run with her. I can't hold on to her, so my 18-year-old can do that. That was hard for me to swallow. I'm glad he was there to do it.
How did he do it then?
He ran with it.
No, I mean before. How did he learn how to do that?
Someone else had it.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was his biological father did.
Okay.
He is my stepson, but I call him my own kid. And he's,
Sure.
Yes, but
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
but those things that way.
Yeah.
Even when I'm at the store,
Mm-hmm.
like if I have my 6-year-old with me, that's my extra height. I'll pick him up with my arms and I'll hold him up. We're in the grocery store now. You see a guy in a wheelchair holding a 6-year-old up in the air. He's getting something on the top shelf.
Yeah.
And so it's a ground overhead movement. But we figured those things out together. But when there's things of changing a light bulb in the house, or not being able to put a new battery in the smoke alarm in the house, things like that, that's trivial, that I have to ask somebody to do, bothers me. Because I can't figure out how to do it on my own. And so I have to accept the responsibility, or accept the fact that I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that hurts. Because I've always been, I do it myself, I figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. Some things you just can't. And those things are what hurt. And it doesn't hurt physically, it hurts emotionally, because I know that there's a dependency when that comes in. But you gotta ask somebody to do it. I don't mind asking for help when I need it, but to having to swallow that and to say, okay, now I gotta have someone help.
So how did high school change for you? Like you're what, a junior when this happened?
Yeah,
16?
I was.
And you still had a senior year to finish up.
I was actually a senior. I was a senior twice.
Okay.
That was fun.
Because like you kind of have a fresh start when you go
Yeah.
after high school. You can kind of be somebody different, and you're just who you are.
Yeah.
But you had that transitional time.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I had my wreck the last month of my junior year in high school. I lost all my credits.
No.
Yeah, I didn't finish school.
Yeah.
So I lost my credit. All the students in my school signed a petition to the
Sure.
county board to let me go and be a senior, but I was failing anyway, so it really didn't matter. I was that kid that had his head down in the classroom. Mr. Miller, your way? Nope. Mr. Miller, you gonna pass today? Nope. I didn't care. I was that kid. But
The kid that would pop his head. You know what you're saying?
yeah, the kid
Fits into that stereotype.
I was that typical skateboarder that didn't care, that thought he was gonna live in a van down by the river.
Which
You
would
know,
be
That's my goal.
you know, that was a different kind of van down by the river. You know, I was that kid.
Sure.
So I and I always go back to when I'm talking to students, when I'm talking to people about my life, I think in my heart of hearts, I feel the wreck happened for that reason. It was a wake up call. It was I feel personally we're destined for something, no matter what we all think it is. I think we all have a why. That why might be that one person. That why might be a podcast. That why might be getting in a bus and traveling the United States. We all have a why. We don't know what that why is. And I think for me, I think getting in this car wreck, becoming a paraplegic, actually passing school was my first goal. Because I knew I couldn't work in a furniture factory, being in a wheelchair. I just knew I couldn't. I tried it. That's another story too. I blew a tire every time I turned around. Staples. When you're I was blowing tires left and right. My dad's like, "You gotta get a new job."
Never thought of that.
Believe I didn't either. But
You got a new job. Your job isn't paying for your tires.
No, exactly.
We're not recouping those costs.
But it was one of those things to where when I got paralyzed, it was a reality that I had to change some things of where I was. You know, when we go through a loss of a job, a divorce, or things like that, it's a reset, like you were talking about. It is a reset because I was a typical teenager, didn't care about life. I didn't care. I thought the world owed me something. But when I woke up, I realized the world gave me something I didn't ask for. And the world's like, play with this one now, why don't you?
Yeah.
And so it was and I always like challenges. So when so when I came, my dad said, you asked for this, so this is your way of now you have a choice to run with this, so to speak, or not. Part of my family thought I should put a shawl on my legs and twiddle my thumbs for the rest of my life and be a vegetable. I wasn't built that way. I wasn't built that way as a kid, and I wasn't built that way right after my injury. So immediately, I started trying to figure out things, trying to figure out what I could do and to make things work for home. My dad, like I said, was instrumental in me being who I am today because he didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't make the house accessible. To this day, all the dishes at my mom and dad's home are up high. I had to literally pick myself up onto the counter, grab my dishes, get back into my chair, do what I had to do because Dad said, why should I change for you? The world's not going to change for you, so why should I? And that was another thing that kind of stuck in my mind with him was because if I've got to learn to adapt to what's around me. You're not going to adapt to me.
Mhm.
I've got to figure out how to make things work because there's only one of me in the shape that I'm in, and there's thousands of other people that are walking normally.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's just like here at the camp, Rich is not going to set a program up for 30 people to work out with just because I can't do that workout.
Right.
So I've got to figure out a way to make it work for me while I'm here around other people. Life's the same way.
Mhm.
So if I go to a restaurant that's not, quote, handicap accessible, but I still want to eat there, food's great. I want to get in there somehow.
Mhm.
And it's just, I got to figure out a way to get in.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the way that my dad made things work at home. I broke a lot of dishes. I broke a lot of dishes. And to this day at my house, my own personal home, it's a 2-story house. It's not accessible.
Mhm.
I have a little ramp going from the front door to the back door, but that's it.
Yeah.
All my dishes are up high like everybody else's dishes. If I want them, I gotta get them. I've broken quite a few dishes. My wife's like, okay, time to get your dishes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so, so what happened after high school? What did you do? Did you go into the? I mean.
I went straight to the workforce.
Yeah.
I thought it would be cool just to have a regular, normal job, and that's where I went to work at the furniture factory.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, I can get a job at the furniture factory, and that guy felt sorry for me. So my job was filling up. If you've ever worked in a furniture factory or know what it's like, the assembly line.
Mhm.
You have everybody stands there where they're glued their guns, and they got the glue jars and everything. My job was to fill the glue jars up.
Okay.
Blue glue everywhere, every
Yeah.
day, all over me. No matter what, in a big 50-gallon drum, I'd have to pour the glue in there.
Mhm.
Well, then after that, I would get done. I would have to roll in my lap this big milk crate looking thing of glue jugs
Mhm.
and stack them up for the next day. That was my job. Well, I realized real quick that if they didn't clean the floors properly, I'd run over staples and nails.
Mhm.
And being in a wheelchair with air in your tires, that blew quickly.
Yeah.
So I had no choice. So I went real quick and started learning that I had to go back to college.
Okay.
And then I had to figure out something to do besides just that, because making $4.25 an hour back then was not enough to pay for wheelchair tires,
Mhm.
and insurance wasn't going to pay for that.
Mhm.
So I went back to college, and then shortly after my second year of college in '99, I got offered a job with the federal government,
Mhm.
and I've been there ever since.
Wow.
So I've 20 years in with the federal government. This past August was 20 years.
Is this like Jason Bourne? Like what do you like?
Is
you,
your
you,
name
you
really
say that really
Miles?
secretively. Like,
Well, see, I'm getting long. This is all a joke. No, no, I actually work for
I
social.
really could walk. If you just got up and walked out this door,
That
I
would
would
just
just
really
stop
freak
everybody.
everybody out. I'm like, what the hell happened?
One
here?
of those undercover drug jobs that you're supposed to last a month and it's been 26 years.
Yeah, I'm just really. The
You're
perks are
You are
amazing.
so committed
The
to
perks
this.
are amazing. There's all the front parking spots. I mean, you get to pick a fight with somebody. Who's going to hit a guy in a wheelchair? Who's going to do it?
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
you get all the hot women in the elevator standing right beside you. I mean, you get everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but no,
I'm like living the dream. You know,
it's we got to get you a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you go
I
to
know a
college?
homeless guy that has a chair.
Yeah, on the corner? At
Yeah, he can walk. He actually gets up when he's done and pushes it back to wherever he's staying.
Funny.
Like he's got it just for show. Which I
You know
applaud.
there are really people that have that's like it's a mental thing they say,
Yeah.
like they want to be disabled.
Well, this dude's brilliant. I mean, he's got a place to sit while he's on the street corner all day long. Most people don't. And when he's tired, he just rolls on off or gets up and walks off with it. I mean, it's pretty ingenious,
Well,
regardless of if
would
he has
you-
mental issues with it or not. But
If you were out on the street corner, you're laughing. But if you were out on the street corner begging for money,
I'm just picturing Jacob.
all right, me and Jacob's on one side of the road standing there with a sign, need money. I'm sitting there on the side of a wheelchair going, I need help, I need money.
Yeah.
And you
mhm.
are driving through in your little bus, what you gonna give the money to? You give the guy the wheelchair money first.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel sorry for once in a while. Why
I mean,
not?
the guy's got a game going. You know.
Maybe I ought to change my career path here.
Yeah.
Figure you
Okay.
probably make a little bit more money
Yeah.
for the federal government.
I don't know.
Like a little.
Maybe. But no. But where were we? We went
I was asking
off
about
a tangent.
your
So you
Jason
went,
Bourne.
so you went to college,
So,
you got a job.
yeah, I started out with the government, and
Once again, it's very vague.
well, for Social Security,
Okay.
I started out as a kind of a type clerical kind of individual, and after 20 years of doing, I've moved up in the ranks. And I actually, oddly enough, I take disability retirement claims. So you can imagine I'm sitting here. You're telling me.
Your life is fantastic.
You're telling me
That's
about
what
your.
I say.
You're telling me about your broken toe, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let me roll away and get your paperwork. I'll verify. You know, or I've got carpal tunnel. Well, I've had 5 wrist surgeries in the last 10 years. Sure. Tell me about your problem. You know, so I mean, it can get very interesting real quick. And one of my other hats with the government is I do the fraud initiative for the metro area where I'm from. So I can help prosecute people who fraudulently do stuff for the government, like work under the table and stuff like that. And so I always tell them, look, I got caught too. While I'm here, guys, you got to pay it back too. So I'm really good at getting money back for the government. So
This is the equivalent of washing dishes when you can't pay your food.
So I mean, it's like I always tell them, I took the mentality I can't beat them, join them. I drew disability too at one time. So I've been on both sides of the wall, so I know what it's like. Drawing a disability check, want me to go back to work, but you still got to pay it back. But I mean, my job is 20 years of doing it. It's been, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of and experienced a lot of sadness. Trying to help people that I can't do anything for.
Yeah.
Obviously that it needs help that didn't work enough to pay in, or, you know, loss of a husband, loss of a wife, loss of a child. I mean, stuff like that can get at you kind of harsh. And so me working out kind of gets away from that every afternoon.
Sure.
When I leave that 8-hour day of typing and talking about people's problems, and I bust up in the gym and back home, and all that goes away.
All right, so what gym are you working out at?
CrossFit Ransom out of Covington, Georgia. I've been with them for 5 years now. Started CrossFit 5 years ago.
I was super confused at first when I met you because I thought you worked out here.
Everybody does.
Here.
Yeah.
But then I was like, hey, you're in Georgia now. You're just traveling. And then when I was in Georgia, I don't think I was too far. Watch out for that mic. It'll get you. But yeah, I thought you lived here. So I was like,
A lot of people,
Jacob, you have guided this podcast. Let me get my voice up in here.
No, I'm just laughing because he goes, I might too.
he caught it, but you didn't.
I did. I just kept going. I'm professional.
I'm not. But no, a lot of people think that just because that CrossFit Mayhem is my second home when it comes for here. I've been coming here for 3 years, and I come here probably every couple of months. And then I've been very blessed to be friends with Rich and the crew. And then especially Rich seeing the need for an adaptive program. So what I do with that is I take the Mayhem Athlete program and I modify and adapt it for adaptive athletes.
Do you only do that for here, or do you do that
Only
like nationwide,
Yeah,
other people too?
Yeah, this is my job here.
Okay.
Well, it's a programming you can buy into.
It's the online program, so where the Mayhem Athlete, CrossFit Mayhem has multiple different programs, online programs. They have like just a basic all the way to the high elite riches programming. And so I take that programming and I adapt it for people with disabilities, whether you're standing, amputee, paralyzed, multiple limb injuries like some of the CP, MS, those type of things. So they program for RX and scaled. I do RX, scaled, multi-limb, standing, seating, upper and lower.
Wow.
That's a whole lot more work, it seems like.
It's fun. It's you know, because we're sitting there, and the cool thing is like you have someone who has had hip surgery, and they still do CrossFit, but they can't do jump ropes. They can't do certain things. So you're sitting down. You break your foot.
Yeah.
You can't do jump ropes, but you can do other things. And so it's adapting that movement to give the same stimulus, but it's a little different. Tweaking it just a tad.
Yeah. Okay, so back up from, sorry, let me get closer. So back up from there, how did you get into doing sports or get into CrossFit or into, I know you did something prior to CrossFit too, right?
I've done a couple of
Racing or
things.
something?
Well,
Did you do racing?
Yep. After I got paralyzed, I started my ankle.
That was not a stalker thing, he told me.
Whatever.
No, shortly after I got paralyzed, my aunt and uncle were professional powerlifters. They were very competitive in the American Drug-Free Powerlifting Association. So not long after I got paralyzed, I started lifting weights to get stronger. Well, then after the 96 Olympics, I was watching an exhibition on TV, and I saw wheelchair racers in the Atlanta Olympics for an exhibition. So I woke my dad up that during the night, I'm like, I want to do this. He's like, where are we going to find something like this? So back in 1996, we didn't have a computer at home. I had to go to the library. So we went to the library and typed in wheelchair racing and found a company outside of Atlanta, Georgia that builds wheelchairs, and we contacted them. And I can't afford a brand new chair, so I'll sell you a used chair. Tell me what size you are. So we measured it. And he said, I have this yellow one that I'll sell you for X amount of money. I said, I don't want yellow. He said, I can paint it purple. I have purple paint. Okay.
I have purple paint.
So I didn't think much about it being purple. So it comes in the mail a couple weeks later, and it's this Barney purple.
Like a throne.
It was horrible, but I
You're like,
loved it.
Can I have yellow?
Can I get this back? But that's how I started wheelchair racing. It was something different, and I started doing that. I raced from '96 up until competitively, up until 06, 08 competitively, and then I still raced on not on the elite level like I used to, or the travel circuit, the competitive for the money type stuff. Because after the family started growing with the kids and stuff like that, 120 miles a week in the chair was just too much with working a 40-hour-a-week job and doing family. So it was getting up in the morning at 3:30 in the morning and putting in a marathon before everybody else got up inside the garage, and then doing it again in the afternoon.
Is there like a stationary thing?
It was kind of like a treadmill. It was very, very similar, like a spindle, and you put your back wheels on it and you just rode.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interval workouts, swimming, lifting. It was a constant. Every day I was losing time with my family.
Mm.
And so I retired from racing, and then was really getting bored with that. And I wasn't doing anything. I was getting bored. So I found obstacle course racing, and nobody was doing OCR racing with not in wheelchairs. So I contacted Spartan Racing and said, hey, look, can I do one of your races? You got one coming up in the Atlanta area. Can I do it? No one's ever done that in a blizzard before. Can I try it? Sure, why not? And so it went up to there, and I helped create what is now Spartan has an adaptive competitive teams. And so I was one of the first ones who built team-based wheelchair athletics through OCR races. Did that for a couple of years, and then I kind of got bored with that. So I did it, and I got bored with it.
So was it team-based because when you would go through the obstacle,
some things I could not do.
You would not do it with the wheelchair. So
Yep.
someone had to meet you with the wheelchair.
Correct.
That's how the team aspect worked.
We would, like, if I had to go over a 12-foot wall, I couldn't grab it. So they would help lift me up. I'd pull myself over the wall and back and forth. And so we did that for a while. We did some of the challenges. I did I was the first paralyzed person ever to do the Spartan death race.
That sounds terrible.
It was horrible. 300 and some odd people sign up for it. You go until there's about 5% left. It could be 4 days, it could be 5 days.
And you completed the whole thing?
No. I lasted 25 hours before I was cut, but I was treated like an able-bodied athlete. So they took my chair away from me within the first 30 minutes. I had to crawl like 3 miles. So,
What?
with like a 60-pound rucksack on my back, with clothes and food and stuff like that. So it was in Vermont mountains. It was horrible. But it was fun. It was one of those
And
things.
you lasted how many hours?
25 hours.
24 and a half without your chair.
No, I had my chair at times.
Oh, but they
But
took it
there
away
were times that we
parts.
had to, in parts. There were times that we had to create, like, it was, that year was the Gambler, I think that was what it was kind of gone by.
Mm-hmm.
And every kind of obstacle there was you get a token, and you could gamble. You could bet if I could beat you, or you could beat me. If I lost, I had to do the task. There were times we had to dig our own graves. There was times.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah, it was a mental torture, but how far could you go? At the end of it, the only prize you would get would be a skull, and you got to keep your jersey, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But to get that coveted skull with that number on it, that was just one of those things. I mean, it was called a death race for a reason. I mean, you literally, mentally, you had to go somewhere really dark to do that. And so I did that. I did the.
So hold on, I'm not done with this yet. I got more questions around this. So, how long did the race last? Like the winter?
I think that it was like 79.
79
Yeah,
hours.
something like that. It was like
And
3
you went
days.
25.
Yeah, there was. I think I was the 26th or 27th person to go out.
Okay.
So 25 able-bodied people were out before I was. They were.
Was there
they were-
anybody else in a wheelchair doing
No.
this with you? You're the
No.
only person?
No. There was the friend that got me that agreed to do it with me because Joe DeSena, the CEO of Spartan, dared me to do it. He said,
Yeah, okay.
He said, you can't do this. He said, you can last an hour.
Those are my favorite ones.
And that was like, okay.
What'd you get for an hour?
He said if you can last an hour,
Uh-huh.
you've done something. I'm gonna show you more than an hour.
Like, how about if I last over an hour and you pay for all the rest of my races that I ever want to do for my lifetime?
Well, actually, that happened.
Oh,
I have
never mind.
Yeah, I have a lifetime.
Just sit back over here.
I have a lifetime membership to Spartan, so I don't go back.
Really?
Yeah. But I did that for a while, and then anything that was a challenge that someone hadn't done, I wanted to do. The go rugs.
Yeah.
I was the first paralyzed person ever to go rug.
Mm-hmm.
I did it in Atlanta, Georgia. We crawled all over town.
Mm-hmm.
It was the coolest thing I ever done in my life. To sit there and have someone who is a ranger or a SEAL to tell me you've accomplished something I didn't think could be done. You know, I mean, it was cool
Yeah.
to do stuff like that. I've done several of those. There's a mountain in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I've crawled in on my hands and knees 3 times for charity. It's just
Yeah, you're crazy.
because I mean it couldn't be done, so what
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah.
I think my most recent crazy accomplishment was I did my world record in 15. And that's actually how I found CrossFit.
The what?
My world record.
Okay.
I pulled the 2016 Honda Pilot the length of a football field in my chair for charity. So 100 and something.
Okay, you need to describe how this works.
So you've seen the strongman.
Yeah.
They take the big.
Yeah.
So hand over hand.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Okay.
So did they attach you
Yeah.
to
it was-
something
it
so you
was-
don't
I had
move?
I had a harness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was like the harness that you see people that are hanging the scalpels.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of those real strong harnesses. Attach it to my back, and I take the rope and I just hand over hand.
Yeah.
To finish
Yeah.
it. And so that did it.
Yeah, I was wondering what kind of pulling you were doing, whether that was like in the chair pulling, you know, like
Yeah,
with it attached to you
yeah.
and you're pulling the car, or if you were actually hand over hand pulling.
hand over
Yeah.
rope. I
Yeah.
did it. I did it at actually a little sanction, not a CrossFit, but it was a competition. So I did there was like a halftime show, and so I did it. And I had always done every year I did Murph. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that was CrossFit. Then I did it on my own time. I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't time. I just did it when I felt like stop. Do it when I felt like doing it again. It was never really for time. I did my world record at this event. I thought it was really cool, and then I got invited to come back in May to do Murph. So the first time I did Murph was with a 45-pound weight vest, my training mask strapped to my face, and my everyday wheelchair. And 2.5 hours later, I did Murph. It was brutal. It was the most worst thing I've ever done in my life. But I said, when can I do it again?
Yeah.
So how do you adapt to that? Because Murph is pull-ups, push-ups, and squats, and then a mile run on either side.
So I'll push, pull-ups, push-ups, and then I did dips instead of squats, like on a box. So I just do
Arms
arms.
had been crazy.
Yeah, my arms are wrecked.
That's the thing that amazes me when I see you doing stuff, like how freaking jacked your arms have to be. Like mine, I don't feel like I can use for 3 days just watching you do stuff with your arms. Like it's unbelievable.
And that's the thing, we do everything with our arms.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the stretching comes in, the warming up for us is a lot. But that's when you have to adapt and figure out that way the push-pull movements, that we're not doing the same thing over and over and over. This year when I did Murph, I did it in like 54 minutes. But I did it instead of dips this year, I did it with a 30-pound med ball and did med ball setups. So
Wow.
it's just changing it up. So I mean, you have to figure out the stimulus because was doing too much with our upper body, and you go from pushing to pull-ups to push-ups to then do dips. It was just too much on my arms, and so a lot of the people that do Murph seated, we changed it up and did this year with med ball setups, and I did it with a 20-pound weight vest on top of that. So 50 pounds.
Goodness.
But that's actually how I found CrossFit. I was at the competition, and I thought it was so neat to watch these people putting themselves through all kind of.
Craziness.
Yeah. That's like, they're over here gagging, or they're in a bucket, they're throwing up. I'm like, I don't do this. But it was, I thought it was so fun and so unique to see how far they would push themselves. And I thought, well, if I push myself in a different way, I don't know anybody's doing this. So I started researching and found there were some other nuts in the world that was doing CrossFit. And that's where I found the adaptive CrossFit community that I'm part of today.
Now, is there games competitive, or
Yes.
competitors?
Yes.
Yeah?
Um,
Or do they have a division, an adaptive division?
we do. It's Chris Downberg from Canada created Wheelwide several years ago, and we have the Wheelwide games. We do the open with everybody else, but he programs whenever Dave Castro comes out with the workout. You guys get them on Thursday. We get ours on Friday. So he has that night to program everything to have it for us by Friday afternoon. Then
So
we
you're a
have,
games athlete too?
no.
Sitting next to greatness. What?
You are. I have competed quadriplegic twice. Third my first time, and I won it in the scale division the last time I went. So I'm an older guy, so I know where I'm at physically. So I'm okay with it.
So you're like masters adaptive.
If there was such.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, yeah, it's Waterpose is phenomenal. They have a great.
That's the one that's in Florida, right?
Yes, they have a great. They put us on the same level. I guess I could say that as far as any other elite athletes, we get the same credit. We go through the same workouts, and they're just as hard. So.
All right, take a little break. Come back and hear about what you're up to now.
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back.
That I don't know. So when we went to a restaurant one day and they saved us a seat, but it was like down steps, and she's like, I can't. She's like, I can get up those things, and I can't really get down them. And then they just set us at this like a communal table, and I'm like, are you okay with this? She's like, it's fine. I'm like, okay. But she's super cool. She plays on the Olympic badminton team.
Yeah.
She's one of the only paraplegic people on that thing.
You get used to stuff like that. I mean, I hate to say you grow cold to it, but you kind of do. It just becomes part of life. It becomes normal. The normalcy of people staring, or people just looking or gawking. You just, depending on my mood,
Yeah.
I might show my butt. I mean,
But
I might act a fool.
I can literally see you showing them your butt.
That's not.
You can see that?
I mean,
What are you visualizing when you're
of
stalking?
him doing it? Yeah. Okay. This is like, is anybody else's ears just on fire?
No, it's just you today.
It's just your evil coming out. It's the evil in you.
What?
It's the evil in you.
That was really weird.
Is everybody okay in water and such? Do we, honey?
It's the evil.
What?
Yeah, I gotta
Wow, you're staring at me, by the way.
Do what?
When I was waiting for the 30 minutes, I was like,
Oh, we were at 20 minutes.
it just felt like it was getting
Like
closer.
closer.
Like,
Closer. You sound like what's that movie with the corner, like aliens in the corner?
children?
No.
Signs?
Yes.
Yeah, there's
I can do a really good
There's
cheese.
that.
Predator.
Yeah, predator.
Oh, Predator. That is what it does.
I feel like I'm listening to one of those EDM things or whatever it's called. I don't know about using these.
Get closer to the mic, Jacob.
Just gonna try down my thing.
What are we talking about next? Future? What you're currently working on?
Yeah.
Currently doing?
What is it currently working on?
It's like a rainbow. Like a drive-by.
Break yourself. No.
All right. Let's.
Good thing I didn't have margarita at lunch.
Yeah, it's just recorded super quiet on your voice.
On whose voice?
Yours.
Really?
Yeah. I could hear it just fine, and I thought it was just the way it was recording, but it's.
So just put this like all the way in.
Yeah. See?
That is strange.
I don't hear it.
That's,
Can you-
that's my point.
Can you edit?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and play a lot with that. All right, ready? What are we gonna talk about?
We can talk about what I'm doing now? If the mayhem
I
going
almost
on?
broke into like salt and pepper.
Well, the currently, like I said, the one I'm doing right now is just the sports chair initiative, the nonprofit, the GoFundMe that I started.
Cool, here we go. All right, welcome back to the podcast. So in the second half of the podcast, we like to talk about whatever you're getting into now, whatever you want to plug or pitch or growl at or burp at, whichever you want. So what's going on with you?
What would you like to burp at?
Currently right now, in January I started, I met a young lady that was 12 years old, got recently paralyzed. And when I would go up into South Carolina and train, that's where her gym was. And didn't realize that, well, we knew each other, but her coach knew me, and then the father reached out to the coach and said, hey, do you know anything about wheelchair CrossFit? And she's like, oddly enough, I do. I know a guy. And that guy was me. Excuse me. And I went to the hospital in the Atlanta area and met her. And just her smile, it was just an automatic, what can I do to help? And the dad's like, I want to get her back involved with CrossFit, but I just don't know how. And I left her that day thinking, what can I do to help her as quick as I can get involved with something that she's used to? Because I know when I got paralyzed, my mind went everywhere, from suicide thoughts to just what's my life, what am I going to do? You know, I didn't want her to go through that the way that I did. She could do it in her own time, but I wanted her to have something she was used to help as quick as it could, because I've learned if you can get involved with something immediately after something like that, it makes the transition a little easier. And so I reached out to some really cool people and said, hey guys, I want to raise enough money to get this young lady a new sports chair. Can you guys help me? And then in about 45 minutes, I had enough money raised and then some to get her a new chair.
Wow.
So I contacted her mom and dad and said, look, I want permission to do this. Is it okay? Because I just want to do it without their permission. Because I mean, some people would take offense to stuff like that.
Sure.
And I said, don't tell her. This is a surprise. And so in about a week and a half, I had her a new sports chair ordered and delivered it to her in about 2 weeks back to the hospital where she was a patient at. And surprise. And actually got her up here to CrossFit Mayhem during the Open this year.
Oh,
she got to meet her and her dad, got to come up here and do something that no one has ever done before as far as a dad and daughter, especially just becoming paralyzed. What better way to get her back involved with something than put her on people like Rich and most of the Mayhem crew?
Yeah.
So to somebody who's not, in a wheelchair and doesn't understand like why you would need special funding for, like, what's the difference of a wheelchair? What makes it special?
For a chair for CrossFit, you got to have something that's going to have a stability. The camber, the wheels have got to be wider. There's got to be a wheel bar on the back, because you can imagine lifting overhead 75 pounds, then you lose your balance, you're out backwards. The barbell's going to hit you, you're going to hurt yourself. So you want to have something that's going to be stationary. It would be like sitting in a chair with three legs instead of 4. So it would be dangerous. Some people can do it, it's just not safe. And I thought, what better way to get her back involved as quick as I could, get her in a chair that would fit her for that need. And so when I did that, I reached out to these people when we raised the money as quick as we could, got her the chair, and it sparked my interest to help other people. And so that's where the sports chair initiative came from. And so I decided I would start an Instagram page called the Sports Chair Initiative and a GoFundMe account. And this year so far, since I started this, I've purchased 8 chairs for people so far and raised almost $8,000 so far this year.
So how much does each chair cost?
Right now, the company that I was getting chairs through, I found just an intermediate kind of a starter chair for about $1,000. So that's not counting shipping and handling, but it gets it started. And I've been footing some of the bill of my own money to help pay for some of the costs of shipping and stuff like that. But talked with the company possibly about making some more chairs that are a little better made for us, like my chair, to make it a little more custom for a little bit more money. And so my goal this year is to get 4 more chairs for the rest of the year. I'd like to get 12 people helped for 12 months of the year. Next year, of course, will be a different goal, but right now that's what I'm shooting for. I've got 2.5 months left to get. I've got 4 people in waiting, And so I've already picked out who I'm going to help. It's just the funding is coming back. You can either, and I've signed on with a nonprofit group called Be More Adaptive. They have a 501c3. They have a tax ID. We actually, if you're a company, if you want to donate, you can actually get the tax write-off through that. If you donate through the GoFundMe, obviously there's no tax. You can't. But I mean, that's where I hate to say it, I pulled at people's heartstrings so far. And I've asked, I've begged, and I've pleaded for help, and I've kind of worn that out. So now it's just trying to figure out a way to get help, to help other people. And it's, I don't make anything for doing this. It's just something I want to do.
Sure.
It's something that I know what CrossFit has done for me as an individual. I know what it has done for me physically to be able to pick things up, pick my 6-year-old up and get something off the top shelf. Like I said, that's a ground overhead movement. Just getting in and out of your chair to be stronger and to have something to look forward to every day in a little sport is just that much more fun. And if I can get someone help by doing that, I'll go to any length I possibly can.
So they can just Google GoFundMe and look up
They can
Sports
actually,
Chair Initiative?
yeah, they can actually go through Instagram. If they follow Instagram, go to Sports Chair Initiative. I have an Instagram page for that, or they can actually follow me at Chasing Michael Mills, and then they can contact me through that as well. But the Instagram is, like I said, the Sports Chair Initiative, and there's actually a link on there they can donate.
Where is that coming from? People were very excited and cheering for you.
Yeah, that was a little kid going around in Corvette. But then, the only thing else I'm doing now is just the Mayhem Adaptive program that we have an online program through CrossFit Mayhem that is basically, like I said earlier, it's the Mayhem Athlete Elite programming. It's just I'm modifying, adapting it for adaptive athletes from all walks of life. So, and it's a program you can sign up for. It's an online daily program that I set up every day. Have those up every night. The next day, there's options. You can do multiple workouts in one day, or you have a one-day option you can do.
Goodness. So how far in advance do you get what you need to work on in terms of that? Like, how far off do you get the programming so that you can make it for the adaptive athletes?
Today, I got next week's workouts. So I've already started working on writing it up. Actually, I was waiting on you guys. I was actually working on it today. And so I kind of look and see what the able-bodied athletes are doing, and I kind of go back and go, okay, what is it that I can do to this workout to give it the same stimulus? Like for a burpee, for you guys, obviously a burpee. We can do a modified burpee. I call them burpees. It's a modified burpee. But if you're doing it the same stimulus to make it as fast and efficient, for us it's another movement. We got to get in and out of our chair. So we do slam balls. So when you're down on the ground, the slam ball's on the ground. So when you're coming up with your hands over there, the slam ball is above my head, and I'm bringing it back down again. So it's the same stimulus, same movement, same speed as a burpee, similar to same stimulus.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. What's been the hardest movement that you've had to adapt to do? Like
Muscle
ups.
ups.
Muscle ups.
I after 5 years, I still can't do a muscle up.
Yeah.
I can do them like a ring muscle up, but it's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
There's some guys that are in chairs that can do them in their chair this day. Zach Gould, Zach benches 500-something pounds. So Zach is an animal in his own right. You've got like guys like Kevin Ogar that can do them, that's been doing it CrossFit. I watched him the other day, strict press 210 pounds, sitting in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Dude, that's just bad. Kevin and Zach are my heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, guys like that are able to modify those things. Sometimes you have to be able to figure out from a scale standpoint. Like for me, if it's a muscle up workout, I'll do a ring dip and then a pull up.
Okay.
So I split those two workouts. And make it one.
Sure.
So if it's 15 muscle ups, so I would do
break down the movements.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so do 15 ring dips, or do a ring dip and then a pull up, and then you can do it that way. So
Yeah, that's cool. Man, it's a whole world out there that unless you're in it, you don't know about.
Correct, and it's something you look at and you don't think about. A wall ball workout, it's still wall balls. I'm just not squatting down. I'm still like our wall balls are 2 for 1. I can do 2 wall balls for your 1 wall ball. Okay. So it's a little lower, of course.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the height was.
Yeah, I think RX is 8 or 9 feet. And
Yeah,
it
it's
scales
still
like,
pretty high.
yeah, it
Okay.
scales like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
14-pound wall on
Okay.
average.
yeah,
For our heavy days, 20.
yeah.
So,
Goodness.
So do you do an RX adaptive and a scaled adaptive?
yes, I have, for the mayhem program, we do RX adaptive, scaled adaptive, and multi-limb adaptive. Multi-limb adaptive would be someone who has like MS or CP,
Mm-hmm.
that obviously don't have the use of their legs, or have very little movement. And then they're limited to one side of their body. So the weight will go a percentage difference. So you're still getting the same stimulus, you may still do a ground overhead, or you may do a push press, but the weights are different.
Okay.
So, I wouldn't expect an RX athlete to do a 95-pound push press as a scaled athlete to do that. I would expect a scaled to do 65, and then a multi-limb to 45 or 55, depending on the person's level.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Ah, very good. Man, I love it. And it was a awesome thing to watch you compete. For me, like it was just phenomenal.
that was a fun competition. I mean, I'm hoping that if things go well, I'm hoping that next year that we're going to be able to slide in some more adaptive athletes next year.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the goal.
Are you the only one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we kind of got started, because I saw the competition. I'm like, hey, can I come? They're like, we don't have any division. We just compete in the able body division. Okay.
yeah,
And I just, can I get the workouts a week or so in advance where I can program them? And they gave it to me like a week or so. And I sent it back to them, and they approved or
Mhm.
disapproved the workouts. And I explained to them the stimulus and how it would work, and they approved it. And I
yeah.
finished, 16th, I think, out of all those.
It was
Yeah,
impressive
you
to
finished
watch.
above me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for just agreeing with us.
That one workout that I think I finished second overall in was the deadlift, D-ball, and the bike.
Yeah.
That one was fun. I use a skier instead of the bike, obviously,
Yeah.
but that one was, I can't come across that one, and I was blown away that I was that fast in it. But every one
That
of
was
those,
deadly.
every one of those workouts, those movements were in my wheelhouse. I love the D-balls.
Mm-hmm.
I take, if I'm pressed for time, sometimes I do 100 D-balls for time.
Oh, why?
Yeah, it's just something I can do in the garage at the house.
What do you do that in? What time is that?
7 minutes or so. So I mean, it's 50-pound D-ball, just racking it over shoulder.
Yeah, just doing that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it,
Yeah.
it's like
I want to punch you right now.
like we did. I like to think of a South Park cripple fight.
It's.
That's what barbell voodoo is.
A South Park?
Yeah, like a Timmy shirt doing barbell.
Yeah. I was a big fan of Mr. Hankey, so I think that'd be a good one too.
Do they have one of them?
No,
No? Okay.
no, the Christmas boo.
I have the Golden Girls shirt.
The Golden Girls is fantastic. Well,
I wanted to get it was in Georgia Bullet. You have a handicap tag that says Timmy on it. That's right.
Oh, really?
I just can't take that.
I mean, I do joke around, but I do have a handicap emblem tattooed on my leg. So
Yeah,
if I ever get going and driving a car that doesn't have a handicap tag on the back of it, I get pulled over by the cops. So I do have a tag on placard. Right here.
You should have had on the other side of that.
Well, I mean,
You gotta come around the other side, you know. See?
I learned real quick laughter was the best medicine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, all jokes aside.
I absolutely love when people are comfortable with themselves enough to make other people uncomfortable with.
Sure, like today.
Yes, case in point, Annette walked flat into that wall, and I loved it. It was fantastic.
And I don't know you well enough to be like, that's very funny. I was just like, oh, crap. And then, yeah. Now I feel like we're on a better level.
Yes.
Like, should have had like one big comeback or something. I'll think about it tonight at about 2 o'clock when I'm laying
My
there.
6-year-old loves handicap jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, Dad, he said, you were dumb in school. You know why? You never understood anything.
Oh, jeez.
As a 6-year-old, coming up with his own jokes, I'm like, oh, jerk.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's high five.
Oh, yeah, we fist bump.
Yeah.
Mom's like, you guys gotta stop
You
this.
just got coal for Christmas, but well done.
So what's kind of like an overall tying it back together in case you have other questions? Just like, what would you say to like somebody who's just entering, the same things that you have gone through, or somebody that's in your younger shoes, or
Be open for change. Don't be so close-minded, and don't think that that's it. There's so much more out there. Life's not over with it just because you're sitting down. My life just began when I got paralyzed. I was 16 years old. I hadn't even really started to live a real life yet. So I've spent, over half my life in this position, but I've done more seated than I would have think I've done standing. It's a different perspective. My glass has always been half full, kind of so to speak, but after I got paralyzed, the water tasted better. Just like I said, just be open for change, and understand that there's going to be limitations, there's going to be challenges, but make those challenges worth it, make those challenges fun, and experience life. Those are the biggest things I can tell anybody. Like the young lady that I talked to, I said, it's your life's not over. It's going to be different. It's going to be completely different. But, it's like, it's one of those things that it is what it is. You don't really have a say-so when things like this happen. You do, don't get me wrong, you do have a say-so of what you do afterwards, but when it happens, you can't say, well, I'm having a car wreck today. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You can't expect to not spill a glass of milk. You can't expect to spill coffee on your lap. Those things are just going to happen. But it's how you handle it is how your life goes. And like I said, I think if it's just, you be open for change. And expect things like that to change. Because otherwise you're going to be miserable.
Right.
You literally would be just this piss poor individual that nobody wants to be around. No. I gotta be around people. I like talking too much.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say to people, like able-bodied people, or how am I trying to say this? And I'm super echoey. But what would you say as far as like me being intimidated to come to talk to you or something like that? Like, what would you you're a pretty kick-ass person. So.
It's no different than someone looking at somebody else and thinking they're beautiful. You're going to be intimidated.
You're beautiful.
You're going to see. No matter what, there's always going to be something different.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm sitting down doesn't mean that I'm not different than you. I'm the same as you. You're standing. I'm seated. Would you have had trouble talking to me if you didn't know I was a wheelchair if I was just sitting on a bench?
Probably because you were like a tattooed up badass that was like sitting over there doing a jump rope. So yes.
But no. But what I'm saying though, if I was just sitting on a bench at a park and no wheelchair were there, would you have had more difficulty speaking to me, looking the way I do, or sitting in a wheelchair? Not doing anything specific, just sitting there. Would you have thought different, or would you just bypass me? You would have bypassed me more than likely. You would have just thought, okay, it's a guy just tattooed and kept on walking.
Mm-hmm.
But the wheelchair caught your eye.
Mm-hmm.
You saw something different, and that's the key. It's a difference. Don't let that difference stop you from learning people.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you drive a bus.
for
That's
1 hour. Yeah.
What I'm saying though, people ask me, they go, man, who's driving a bus? And I don't know what that is. But it's approach people just like you want to be approached.
Mm-hmm.
It's 99.9% of us are going to be like, hey, how you doing? We don't see this. It's part of us. It's made us who we are. It's just an extension of our life. It's like having kids. It's just an extension part of our life. That's just part of who we are. The chair made me who I am, so to speak, because of what happened to me. But the chair doesn't identify who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it does to an extent, because without the chair, where would I be?
Mm-hmm.
Where would my life be if I hadn't got paralyzed? Would I even be in this world today? I don't know. So I think to be able to approach someone in a different light, whether they be famous, whether they be popular, unpopular, whatever, just approach them. If you have a question, ask. what's the worst can happen? I can bite your head off and you feel bad for 30 minutes and you forget about me the next day.
That is not true. That will haunt me the rest
But
of my
no,
life.
but that's what I'm saying though.
I'm a 2.
In real life situations, you know, if you approach someone, if they're cold to you, the person that was cold to you in the grocery store yesterday, are you really going to remember them in a week?
Mm-hmm.
No. You're not really going to remember that. So
I know.
But what I'm saying though is take the time to learn somebody.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just say, hey, my name is Annette. Think your tattoos are kind of cool. What is this thing you're sitting in?
I've literally watched her do that a handful of times. She is the most awkward turtle, and I love it.
I'm just obsessed with people's stories because
Yeah.
everybody has one, and like,
Yeah.
and if it's something that's different than me, I'm just like intrigued by it,
And
and
you
I
wanna
find
learn.
the beauty of it. I don't think it's like, it's not scary. It's not, and I just want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, anything else from you?
I'm good.
All right. If you want to follow this cat, go to at Chasing Michael Mills. Also, you can look for his blues name, Willie Jones, or you can check out and Google Sports Chair Initiative, right?
Correct. Except through Instagram as well for the sports
Yeah.
initiative.
Yeah. So all the places. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and thanks for being here, Mike.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Thank
Thank
you. Bye bye. Okay, I needed to redo how I asked that question. That came out like a humble jumble of shit.
No, it didn't. I mean, again, and it goes back to how people approach things.
Yeah.
You know, you would never think to ask me, do I wear shoes out?
Yeah. Well, I just don't want to, like, all the people, like, there was a girl in Apple once that had the, shoot, what's the pigment? Skin pigment.
Yeah.
And I wanted her so bad to photograph because she was beautiful. And I didn't want to go up and be like, see your face is fucked up, can I photograph you? Because it's
But
not.
what you
it's-
could have done.
Well, I did. I ended up talking to her, but I just was like, I just want to tell you, you are absolutely gorgeous. And I don't want to weird you out, but I'm also doing this project that is all about inclusivity. And I would love, well, I want to approach people in like a.
Do it!
And then she was going to do it, and then she got busy or whatever. I need to message her though, because she is gorgeous. And like,
We're talking about me that much.
I see you're gorgeous.
Thank you guys for letting me do this with y'all. It was
Thank
fun.
you for